Everyone, welcome back to the Change Your Mind podcast. I'm your host, Chris Ashley. We explore the intersection between personal development, spirituality, and science. And I have the perfect guest who can help me combine all of those things today. I've been really excited for this particular interview. So today I have with me Bindu, and Bindu is a stress management expert, a HeartMath coach. She has her Ph.D. in Metaphysics, which I think is the coolest thing ever. She's getting her Ph.D. in Metaphysics. She's also the founder of the Conscious Leadership Academy, and she does conscious parenting. So we have a lot to talk about. Welcome, Bindu. I'm really happy you're here.
Thank you, Chris. It's a great pleasure to have me here. Wonderful.
Yeah, like I said, there's so much I'm excited to ask you about, but it's always good to start with someone's origin story. So I know you had a spiritual awakening 4 years ago. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like? What was the catalyst to it?
Okay. So I think I'm a qualified accountant, so I'm very logical minded, very nerdy, and I've been in the corporate world for more than 20 years. So I've kept moving from one field to another, from accounting into IT. So I thought, getting a qualification in accounting was one of the biggest achievement in my life. When I got that achievement, I felt, okay, that was momentary, but then there was still a void. Then I thought, okay, I should be doing something more. Then I moved on into IT. And when I moved into IT, then again, my professionally, I'm growing, but there's still some void. In the quest of real happiness, I was trying to look for many things, and that's when I found meditation. And through meditation, I discovered the true purpose of my life. And this is the awakening I had. I think one thing in the corporate world is we are in a rat race all the time. We don't really think about other people. Whereas when you come into meditation, there's a 360 transformation that happens to you because you're connecting with your own soul. So in every aspect of life, there is a transformation. And this is when I understood the oneness in the universe. So this is when I decided to delve more into personal development, spirituality, spiritual sciences, and metaphysics and occult sciences. And yeah, that's the awakening I had.
It's so true. With the rat race, we are here on this planet for such a bigger reason than work, money, sleep, entertainment, repeat the cycle, eat. So did you end up leaving the corporate world to pursue all of this, or are you still kind of dabbling in corporate?
While I was in the corporate, I was dabbling into all these things, and it's only last year I took that big step in my life to leave my corporate world. So it's
Congratulations.
exactly, thank you. It's exactly a year now, more or less, that I left my corporate world and I'm doing completely something I'm really, really passionate about. I think my mission is to touch as many hearts as I can in this world where I can transform them.
I love that. And I think it's so inspirational for people to hear because so many people have a dream that they want to follow or this thing that feels like a calling, a purpose, but they're so fearful to take that leap. So I think you're just living proof that on the other side of that, like Terrence McKenna says, is a feather bed, right? You just hurl yourself into the abyss and there's a feather bed. So that's really wonderful. So it sounds like you just went down all these different rabbit holes, right? Which I can totally relate to. Like what pulled your attention first? Where did you end up landing to?
So I think one of the first thing that really pulled me into the spiritual sciences was The Secret. I think my sister was talking about The Secret, and then I was wondering, what is The Secret? Then I started reading these books about personal development. So I read the book Secret, and that's when I understood what is energy, what is vibration, what is the frequency. And this is when I started reading more and more books, and I got into understand what is quantum physics, what is neuroscience, and this is how my journey began.
I love that so much. And I love The Secret because it brought law of attraction to the masses. There's some things it's missing, right? There's some more steps to take in there, but it made it common household language. And that's pretty amazing. Like I keep saying it feels like we're in the most exciting time to be alive because there's this awakening happening, right? People are becoming more and more conscious, and that's just so exciting. And I love that you called out, neuroscience and quantum physics, and epigenetics is another one. Like
Yes,
science
yes,
is backing
yes,
up what
yes,
spirituality says and what mysticism says. It's really
yes.
exciting.
Absolutely. I think Dr. Joe Dispenza says science is a new form of mysticism. So wherever there is evidence, that is what we call science. But yes, science is catching up there, I would say. It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it's incredible. So, okay, so I know that we've been dropping these names like Joe Dispenza, and I was so excited to find out that you've worked closely with Greg Braden and Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza. And if listeners don't know who these three men are, go read their work, go follow their work. They have been so influential on myself and so many people around the globe. How did you start working with them?
So basically, with Dr. Bruce Lipton, I would say, I mean, Dr. Joe Dispenza and Greg Braden have done their, the courses, and I've read the books that they wrote. But I think I work very closely with Dr. Bruce Lipton because I'm part of his community, and I take case studies to him, asking him about, because I'm also very much into conscious parenting. So if there's a child suffering from any kind of illnesses where the medicine is really expensive, then how do we really help this child? So I really take some case studies to him. He's all about no medicines, only energy, right? He's just against medicines. So this is how I have a very close connection with Dr. Bruce Lipton. And I'm so excited that, I get all this first-hand information directly from him. If there's anything, I really need to ask him.
He's such a good guy. I got to meet him last year, and the fact that he's so busy, and the
Mm.
fact that he sets aside a time to help with these case studies with children who are suffering, just it's such a testament to his character. Like that's actually really really special.
Absolutely, absolutely. He's such a wonderful person, very humble. He comes to each and everyone and says, "Thank you for coming to this conference." I mean, you could be doing something different on a weekend, but you chose to be here. So, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. So how do you come across these case studies? And I know you said you're into conscious parenting. Tell us more about that.
So the case studies, I mean, I do hear like some of the friends suffering from, the children suffering from any kind of illnesses. And it's only through conversation. And to be really honest with you, not everybody do understand what is conscious parenting until unless they are somebody who is into spirituality and who is into personal development. They would not really understand what is conscious parenting. Because if they're not living consciously, how would they understand what is conscious parenting, right? So it is a very, I think it's a very gray area for them. Even if I do talk about conscious parenting, they wouldn't really understand because I'm actually inner child therapist, and I do understand where the trauma or the inner child wounds are coming. And as a parent, we are actually passing them down to our generations. So conscious parenting is one of the most important, and Dr. Bruce Lipton says this is because I do a lot of work on this, and he says I'm doing a great job, and he says my work is really needed for the world because we're actually bringing the future generation, you know changing we need changing the future generation. So conscious parenting is all about being the parent, being very mindful about what they're doing and how are they talking to their child, how much time they're giving to the child, and how consciously are they speaking from the heart, or are they speaking from the mind? So these are the things that actually conscious parenting consists of, and it is really really life transforming because conscious parenting not only develop a positive emotional development with a child, but also strong parent child connection, improved behavior and communication, encourages a lifelong learning, reduced parent or reduce power struggles, I would say, because most of the parent and the child really try to struggle to address the behavioral issues. So by understanding and addressing the root of the behavioral issues, conscious parenting can help them to reduce the power struggle between the parent and the child, and this creates a more harmonious and a cooperative family environment. And this is what is needed for the world nowadays. You see everyone are living their own life, everyone has their own gadget, and they don't tend to talk to each other. And even when the child is having his food, he's with his phone in his hand. So this is not being mindful, right? We as parents, when we are conscious, we are going to showcase ourselves as a role model for the child so that the child can actually implement what the parent is doing. This is how important the conscious parenting is. It is, it brings self-awareness, empathy, mindfulness, and setting boundaries with love and encouraging independence as well. So
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with Bruce. It's such important work that you're doing, especially when you think about how many people. I mean, I meet so many people who have childhood trauma, right?
yes,
And yeah, it's a big thing. Okay, so I don't know if I told you this in our pre-call, but I'm pregnant right now with my first child. So,
yes.
what?
Congratulations.
Thank you. What advice do you have for me or any parents listening? Just, I know you mentioned the cell phones. Is there any other little piece of advice that can just make us more conscious? Because even the most conscious people can slip into unconsciousness sometimes, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think for pregnant women, I think in the conference, Dr. Bruce Lipton did show us one of the video where the mother is pregnant and she's carrying the baby and the fetus in the womb is very happy. And then there is a mother is singing a song and we can see the fetus really happily moving. And then there's the father comes in and there was an argument between the wife and the husband. And then when the mother gets that chronic stress, the baby, the fetus in the womb just jumps, and that creates trauma inside the womb. So it's not only after the conscious parenting does not actually start from the time the child is born, but the conscious parenting actually starts from the time the child is in mother's womb. So as a mother, it's very important for her to be very emotionally regulated, always being the state of joy, happiness, gratitude, one of those high frequency vibrations.
No pressure or anything.
Yes, yes, no pressure whatsoever.
Yeah, people keep saying to me, the baby feels what you feel. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, but I was stressed out the other day, or I got angry at this thing. And it's a lot of pressure, but I guess that's parenting, right?
Yes,
it's just
yes,
the start of it. And you said you're an inner child therapist.
yes.
Do you work with people to help heal their inner child wound? Is that what that looks like?
Absolutely. Yeah. Whatever we are today is because of our inner child.
Mm.
Because the parents or the society we have been brought up with, it is actually 95% in the world are dysfunctional families. It's purely because of the kind of parenting we had. It's just not only parenting, it's the families, the environment, the teachers, everything constitute to our behavior. So subconscious mind is open from 0 to 7 years, and whatever is happening around us becomes our behaviors and the behavior belief systems. So there's many people who live in fear, many people have anxiety, many people have depression, and that's not purely is what is happening right now in the environment. It comes from their inner child. So if somebody has been brought up in a very toxic environment or a very stressful environment, then that child obviously have those belief systems in the subconscious. So that gives the triggers. They probably must be going to work and there is something that's happening at work that triggers them. But in fact, it's stress is not actually external always. It could be internal. The root cause of internal stress is those inner child issues that we're holding on to, that emotional trauma that's we've been carrying in the subconscious mind.
Yeah. And just to kind of amplify what you said, when children are under 6 or 7, they're in theta brainwave state,
Yes.
right? So,
Yes.
which is hypnosis. They're literally programmable. They're downloading information. So when they say kids are a sponge, they're literally a sponge, right? So, and it reminds me of generational trauma too, right? So much of those inner child wounds, like you said, it's the people who we grow up around, and our parents who might not be conscious might be putting all of their stuff onto us. So it's not necessarily your fault, but your healing is your responsibility, right? It's your
Yeah.
responsibility to redo that programming.
I'm also a family constellation therapist. That means, we look at the transgenerational
Mm.
diseases or, those wounds that we're carrying. Say, for example, if somebody has been brought up in an environment there was war, and then they have to leave that country and go to another country. So when they leave that country, there's a deep rooted belonging to that land. So,
Mm.
but because of the circumstances, they actually move away from that land. But that trauma that carrying in them goes into their cellular level, right to the cells, and those imprints is what has been transferred from generations to generations. And this is what it is. So we got to go back generations to also heal some of the traumas.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it just goes so, so deep. So you said that you also explore genetic illnesses, right? Do you believe that there are genetic illnesses? Because I don't know. I think about like Bruce Lipton's work is all about like the genes don't create the disease, the environment does. Or is that what a generational illness is? Just that same toxic environment.
So basically, yeah, possibly. I mean, it's a belief system, right? So Dr. Bruce talks about, epigenetics, where he says diseases are not caused because of the genes. So very common diseases are like, diabetes or blood pressure. If your father or the mother has it, it just gets, inherited to the daughter or the son. But then he says that it's not purely because of the genes. It could be because of the environment. So I personally believe it's the belief system what you have, because many people talk about, oh, my mom has diabetes, I'm sure I'm going to get it, right? So this is what it is actually causing. It's your consciousness that creates your reality. So if you ask me what is consciousness, consciousness is nothing but your thoughts, feelings, emotions. Conscious and subconscious belief systems are together called consciousness. This is what is creating your reality.
I love that you said that, and that's exactly where I was hoping you would go. I talk about that a little bit in my book too, because think about it. If maybe your mother had some stress or had a toxic environment or whatever, and it triggered this disease, and then you get to that same age and you have this like little inkling and you're like, oh, that's how old mom was when she got this, and you talk yourself into it, right? It's the nocebo effect, right? You can talk yourself into anything, including being sick.
Absolutely. It's a belief. It's caused because of the belief systems.
Yeah. The BS, right?
Yeah. It's
Uh,
fascinating.
yeah, it's so fascinating. It's so, so
Yeah.
fascinating. So, okay, I want to jump over to HeartMath because you are a licensed HeartMath coach, and I love what HeartMath is doing. It's so fascinating. Again, it's science backing up all of this. So for listeners, and I haven't had anyone from HeartMath on my show yet. So for listeners who have no idea what I'm talking about, can you give an explanation of what HeartMath is, what they do?
Sure. So HeartMath is a research organization who's been doing research for more than 25 years on the power of heart. Our heart has infinite wisdom within. So, what HeartMath have discovered is there is actually a brain in our heart. There's not only brain in the mind, but also in our heart. So, the heart and brain are actually in constant communication. Whatever is happening outside of us, sometimes we feel that hunch, right? Somebody is going to call us, and within a few minutes, you get a call from that person. So, who is giving this information? This is the brain in your heart that is actually telling you. But we tend to ignore these messages that the heart is always trying to communicate to you. So, this is what HeartMath has come up with. And what they've discovered is whatever diseases that we are having, now more and more often we see people dying out of heart attack purely because of stress. And the reason why people are dying out of cardiovascular diseases or heart attacks is purely because heart is the organ in the body that responds to the external environment first, and then the brain, and then the body.
Mm.
So when stress attacks our body, the first organ that gets impacted is actually the heart, and that's the reason people dying of heart attacks. So HeartMath has then gone further with their research, and there's okay, how do we regulate stress and anxiety in the moment? So they've come up with some beautiful techniques which you can use anytime, anywhere. So it is something that you can use in the moment, because small stress and big stress. So body doesn't differentiate between small stress or a big stress. Whenever stress attacks a body, the damage is done. So HeartMath has come up with these techniques where you can regulate your emotions, you can regulate your stress using the power of heart. So this is a fascinating research, and there's many research papers. It's peer reviewed and very scientifically backed up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that explanation. So it also has to do with heart coherence, right? And putting your heart and brain in coherence with each other. So can you teach listeners a little bit about that as well?
Yes. So basically what happens is when stress attacks our body is becomes incoherent. That means our body, mind, or emotions are completely not in sync because you're in the state of survival, right? But when the heart coherence basically is you're bringing the heart and the brain into coherence, that means you're even along with your emotions. So that means your body is in coherence. So your heart is beating very beautifully. So when there is incoherence, the heartbeat goes up and down like this. Whereas coherence, the heartbeat is very nice and rhythmic. So this is how we differentiate between coherence and incoherence. Incoherence is basically caused because of frustration, anger, greed, possibly all those negative emotions. Whereas coherence is caused when you elevate your heart and use emotions like joy, happiness, gratitude, one of the easy one to use.
And I love again that science backs all this up where they actually can see it on the scans, right? When you're saying like your heart beats like this, they're literally seeing it on the scans. And
Absolutely.
same with brain waves, right? And you can actually sync those up.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's
Because when
beautifully backed
no, go
up.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's beautifully backed up. Whatever the woo woo we're talking about, science has now come up with an evidence. So,
Yeah, it's amazing. And the reason you want your heart and brain are incoherent to be in coherence is because when they're not, when there's that chaos, that disorder, it sends that disorderly signal down your central nervous system. And then that sends that disorderly signal to all of your systems, your immune system, your cardiovascular system. And you can quite literally make yourself sick, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Any kind of stress leads to incoherence. That means you go into survival, and then it takes a toll on your body. And it not only takes a toll on our own body, but energetically we are actually transmitting that signal to people around us. So it's fascinating how they've done this research, just not only on your body, but how can you, being in the state of coherence, how can you change the field of energy around you is fascinating.
I remember hearing something, and you're gonna have to tell me the right numbers, but it's like they've measured it, and your heart actually has an energy field like 8 feet out. And then
Yes,
I think it was Greg Braden was like, and by the way, that's as far as the machines will measure, so we don't know how far it really goes. So, I love
absolutely.
that.
Absolutely, absolutely. The heart has much more electromagnetic field that extends around 8 feet. So it's more powerful than the brain. Brain sends a signal out, heart draws the event into our life. So manifestation can only happen through our heart.
And then you think about all of these people meditating in the same room or focusing on those high frequency emotions, and your heart fields are overlapping, right? And it amplifies each other, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. That is called coherence healing. It's just phenomenal how people get healed being in that field of energy.
So even if they're not doing it themselves, just by being
No.
around it, they can be healed.
Yes, I've literally witnessed it in last conference with Lynn McTaggart when we were doing this coherence healing and how people's pain disappeared just like that. So it's just phenomenal.
That's amazing. So as a HeartMath coach, how do you help work with people?
Yeah, so I work with people in small groups, one on one, and also I can also go and coach. I can do corporate training as long as it's a small group. So this is how I do it. And my clients, whoever had this HeartMath program, they actually seen wonderful results in their life. They say it is a game changer, and it's one of the best investment they have made on themselves because the communication we use. HeartMath encourages all these techniques are based on using emotions, right? We use the emotions of joy, happiness, gratitude. So whenever you are that, we try to make them as a second nature. So when you're doing that, you're always in incoherence most of the time. And when you're talking to a child, again, you use a technique from HeartMath and you talk to your child. When you're talking to your child in that being coherent, the tone of the communication changes, it softens. So then when you're talking to a child in a softened way, that is a huge impact, right? There is a difference between shouting and screaming versus talking to them softly, gently, and lovingly.
Yeah, and it makes me think we should be talking to everyone that way, right? Not just
Exactly.
children.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is what it is. So we want to use these techniques day and out. And, we can not only change our own body, but also we can change the environment around us. It creates a ripple effect.
Yeah, it's like if you heal your inner being, you become this beacon, this light for others,
Yes.
right? People want to rise up to meet you. And then you get to offer
Absolutely.
that helping hand. I feel like so many people are out there trying to fight for change, but you can't really fight for things like peace or love or change, right? It all comes from within.
Yeah, so I would say your external world is nothing but a reflection of your inner world. Whatever is happening within you is reflected outside, and you are drawing events into a life of what is happening within you. So, if you want to change something outside of you, there's nothing outside of you. Have to go within. Start changing yourself first. Start looking at your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your self talk, and this is when, if you start looking at and your belief systems, what is the belief you're holding about anything? So once we start changing our consciousness and we raise our consciousness, things outside of us will fall into place automatically.
It's pretty amazing, and we are powerful beings. And so many people tend to get really defensive when they hear that. In my experience, especially when we post online about it, right? About how you create your own reality, because
Mm,
there's a
yeah.
there's a sense of accountability there, right? There's a sense of taking responsibility. Like you have the results in your life because of your own inner being, right? Because of your emotions, your belief system, your habits, your thoughts. So, how can we empower people instead of trigger that defensiveness by explaining all this?
So I would say first thing, easiest way to do is start with meditation.
Mm,
Once going to meditation, and it's not easy for anybody with being in a high beta, a brainwave state to meditate. But if they can start meditating, and meditating is nothing but doing nothing, just being an observer, looking at yourself, and you get all kind of thoughts and feelings, and so then you can watch yourself and see what kind of person you are really and what is that you're thinking most of the time. So this is when if you introspect your own life, then you can know that you really have to change a lot. So it all starts from the feelings you have. What is that you're feeling about yourself, and what is that you're feeling about other people? Are you holding on to any grudges or anger or resentment? So it is time to let go. It is all inner work. It's all inner work.
yeah, there's this great idea that I learned from David Hawkins where, if there's some, and he applies it to guilt, but you can apply it to anything. Like if there's some amount of time where you feel like you've held on to something long enough, where you've punished yourself, you've punished the other person, like why can't that time be right now? Right? Why
Mm.
can't you just let it go right now? Like why?
Yes.
Yeah.
So when you are so if you were to forgive somebody, you're really setting two people free, just not only them, but you're setting yourself free. You're releasing such a big burden in the subconscious mind that you're carrying about this person. We don't know, but the subconscious mind bears all this weight. So it is so important for us to let go of that. So we sometimes feel, I don't have any anger or guilt or shame. But when you go within, there is so much we are carrying.
Yeah. And when you hold on to these repressed emotions or these grudges or these resentments, it's going to seep into your manifesting, right? It's going to color the lens through which you view the world. It's going to shade all of your interactions, right? Because it's part of your unconscious programming.
Absolutely. And according to, the subconscious mind, obviously having all these negative feelings, emotions, it needs some sort of a venting out system. And the venting out system is nothing but diseases. You attract diseases. So
Mm,
this is something to be very mindful of.
yeah. Do you think that all repressed emotions cause disease? Do you think that's like their final stop if you don't do anything to let them go and release them?
Yeah, I would not say all of them. I don't have any evidence to say that, but definitely I've heard that these repressed emotions are definitely going to cause diseases. For example, because being an inner child therapist, I know that especially from the Asian culture, women are more, than a little suppressed in terms of, the school age. They kind of hold on to their emotions. So these emotions, as they grow up and they become adult, they actually have a lot of gynec problems to do with the, yeah, art, anything to do with the ovaries or the gynec side of female issues, basically.
Yeah. That's
Yes.
interesting. So it's like that's where they're holding it inside their
Holding
body.
it, yes, exactly. That's where they're holding it, the emotions. So
Yeah.
it is very important that we let go of all these because we are trying to, people pleasing, right? We're trying to please somebody and we're not ourselves. And then we kind of, have those, we're carrying those burden subconsciously. And this is what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I love that you brought it back to meditation because it's not only noticing what you're noticing, like noticing your thoughts and emotions, but like where you're feeling it in your body, right?
Yeah.
Because chances are you're feeling that tension long before there's disease that develops there. So it's really becoming more intuitive with it, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've heard Caroline Miss, she's a metaphysical teacher, and she said, most of the diseases that are caused is purely of the parenting. So that's something fascinating. So yes, as parents, I think the kind of language that we speak to the child and the kind of emotions that we use really plays a huge role, not only in their well-being but all the overall growth as well.
Yeah, again, so much pressure and responsibility, but also such a beautiful opportunity to raise someone who's conscious and healthy and can help make the world a better place.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely,
it's like your biggest contribution to the world, really, in a way, right? The way you parent your child.
absolutely.
So, okay, so you are getting your PhD in metaphysics. I was telling you before the show, if I would have known that was a thing, I would have done that because I think that is so damn cool.
Yeah.
How did you find that? Where are you doing it? What are you learning? Tell me all about it because I'm so fascinated.
I actually was looking for something and I found something for, I was looking at metaphysics and then I found a university in metaphysics. I'm doing my PhD from the University of Sedona in USA.
Oh,
So, yes. And so metaphysics is all about the nature of your reality, your connection with your body, mind, soul, and the universe. And this is something that really fascinated me, and I'm thoroughly enjoying what I'm doing right now. The knowledge. It's all about raising in the higher consciousness.
that's so cool. So what are some of your classes? And it's all online, I'm assuming, because
Online. Yes, yes,
you live in the
absolutely.
UK, right?
I live in the UK. Yes.
Okay. Have you been to Sedona?
I've never been there. I'm waiting for the opportunity to go and get my degree.
It's so magical. There's so many natural vortices,
Yes,
and
yes.
the energy there is
Yeah,
amazing. The whole
absolutely.
town is spiritual, I swear.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I mean, I bumped into somebody accidentally and they said, this is what I'm doing. And he said, do you know there's a lot of healers from Sedona? I said, okay. When I looked at the pictures, it did look like very mystical land.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It does. It totally does. I had my spiritual awakening from reading a book back in 2002 by a man named Drunvalo Melchizedek, and he's from Sedona. So I got to go be with him in a workshop there when I was like 20, and it was amazing. Uh,
Oh,
so
that's
amazing.
beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, so what are some of the classes that you're taking to get your PhD in metaphysics? Like, just give me a couple because I'm still fascinated by it.
So how do we how do we manage the challenges that we get in day-to-day life? And, it's all about prosperity. It's everything is to do with going within, right?
Mm.
Reprogramming our subconscious mind. And there's some spiritual treatments that we can do on our own self. So these are some of the topics that I'm currently learning, which is really fascinating.
Yeah, that's really cool. Is there any like one specific healing modality that you've learned there that's really made an impact on you?
I think the healing modality they would use is mostly light, healing with light, using a white light around you to protect yourself is one great thing which I normally do because we need protection, right? So I think having visualizing that as a white protective light around you makes you feel more calm, makes you feel more secure, makes you feel protected. So, yes, whatever challenge comes, I think you can respond in a different way.
I love that. And that's something that listeners can just do on their own too. You don't
Yeah,
even need
absolutely.
to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, so you also own the Conscious Leadership Academy. You do so much. I love it. Uh, what is that? What is the work you do there? And I guess final question, is there a place where you're combining all this work, right? The heart math, the inner child, everything you're learning from your PhD. Like, is that what this is, or is this something different?
So basically, the intention I've set up this company called Conscious Leadership Academy is purely because I wanted to work with leaders. I come from a finance background and I want to work with CFOs in finance or executive in finance because I know they're very stressed. So the front end is basically promoting the HeartMath program where I want them to become conscious leaders or the servant leadership style leaders. So I want to help them break free from stress, anxiety, and burnout, and then also make them become those leaders who are not only thinking about themselves but thinking about the team as well. So it is going to cause a ripple effect in the organization. So vision of my organization is to empower leaders to elevate humanity.
I think that's such important work because like you said, these people, well, first of all, they're under a lot of stress, but second of all, their stress is impacting everyone around them, right? Everyone, and it just gets like trickled down in the corporate world. So, and
Absolutely.
I used to work in corporate too. It's stressful. Uh, I, I remember there was a time where I was getting migraines every day and panic attacks, and my husband got ulcers, and it's all from just this stress of working in this environment. Like,
Absolutely. It's all because of stress. There's nothing more to it. It's just stress.
yeah, human beings are not meant to sit in front of a computer screen for 8, 10 hours a day and just with fluorescent lighting and just deadlines. And like
Yeah.
you said, it drives you into a high beta state. You're just on all the time.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no calming. There's no time for you to take breaks. And, although they talk about well being, but at the end of the day, you got to get your work done, right? So, yeah. So it is a very difficult world. So this is the reason and the purpose I've set up my company. So I like to help them with stress, anxiety, burnout. And also once they kind of become that conscious, then further on I love to help them with any kind of healing or because once they believe that yes, this is what it is, then yeah, I use some other techniques.
That's smart to start with heart math because it's so scientifically backed.
Scientific, exactly, exactly. Because most of the corporates, they are scientific or the logic minded. So if I talk about woo woo, they would not even like it, or they might not even agree to it.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to start with heart math.
Yeah. It also, I think, can also just divide people, right? But if
Mhm.
based on their own beliefs or religious backgrounds or whatever, but if you come at them with science, then everyone's a little more open to it. And then you
Yes,
kind of
absolutely.
ease everything else in, like you said. That's really great that you're doing that. You're doing such important work in so many different realms.
Thank you, thank you.
So another thing you told me you do is you work with a gentleman named David Hamilton. And you said he's the 5 Side Effects of Kindness author. And I've actually never heard of him before. So I'd love to just hear a little bit about what you do with him and what kind of work that is.
So basically, I'm part of his inner circle, his personal development group. So we do have calls with him once a month or once in 3 weeks. So I'm going to see him tomorrow. He wrote a book called Five Side Effects of Cancer, Kindness, and how does kindness help you to heal your body. So
Mm.
even they have discovered that, be through, because he's actually a research scientist from the pharmaceutical industry who was doing research on the drugs for the heart. But then he discovered that these drugs might not even help. So he came out of it and then he started writing books. And one of the book is The Five Side Effects of Kindness. So, being kind, you kind of, even the arteries in your heart would even expand because you're kind. So these are some of the
Wow.
beautiful things that he talks about. Yeah.
That's really amazing because you never think about kindness as affecting you. You think about it
Yeah.
as, you're kind to help others. But that's amazing that as you're helping others or just brightening someone's day a little bit or making their life a little bit easier, you're actually helping yourself too.
Helping your own well being. Yeah, absolutely.
That's really fascinating.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. I'm learning so much from you today. Um,
Thank you.
so, I'm wondering if there's anything you can leave listeners with today. Like, is there any kind of little heart math meditation or something that can just take a few moments that you might be able to just lead people through?
Yeah,
Not to put you
absolutely.
on the spot or anything.
No, not at all. I think heart focused breathing. So, one quick technique that I like to share is heart focused breathing. At any point in time, you're stressed, either at work, either at home, and then you're going into that moment where, you're throwing your toys out of your pram. First thing you need to do is just bring your attention to your heart. Just calm down. Put your hands on your chest. Just the only reason when you put your hands on your heart is because you bring your awareness to your heart. And then just close your eyes and then feel as if, breathing in through the nostrils, but breathing into the heart, not through the nostrils, but you are actually breathing into the heart. Breathing into the heart nicely, slowly, and deeper than usual. Just taking a breath into your heart, slowly, gently, deeply than usual, and then breathing out. Breathing into the heart again, slowly, gently, deeper than usual, and then breathing out of the heart. And one last time, breathing into the heart, slowly, gently, and then deeper than usual, and then breathing out of the heart. You can either count 1 to 5 or 1 to 4, depends on how long you can hold your breath going in and out, and that's it. And when you come out of it,
It
you
really
feel
does just like soothe everything down.
soothing. Yeah, you've gone into the state of coherence now.
You also have the most soothing voice ever. I don't know if it's partly your accent, but it's just like so calming. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that with everyone.
My
Um,
pleasure. And one last thing I want to share, one other tip that I want you all to practice is appreciation. Appreciating somebody, it's not easy for people to appreciate somebody as easily, but right, but appreciation is something that is so good for your own well-being. Appreciating somebody, saying something nice, it's again part of kindness, right?
mm,
Saying nice to people. Take appreciation breaks while you are at work, just like the way you have coffee break, lunch break, tea break. You just go and take on appreciation breaks, go talk to people. Appreciate, genuinely appreciate, not just for the sake of words, but genuinely appreciate someone. So when you do that, you can see how much happiness you get, and you can also see how happy the other person is. It doesn't cost us anything, right? So this is how you not only build that relationship with the other person, but also you feel so nice because you have really appreciated somebody from your heart. So this is something that is truly amazing. One of the technique, it's not a technique, but this is one of a tool that can really regulate your emotions. It's really good for your well-being.
I love that practice. I encourage everyone to go out and do that today. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to do that myself. So thank you. And Bindu, thank you so much for coming on today. I loved talking to you. I feel like I could talk to you for hours. But we are on we're at time. So is there any way that people can get in touch with you? How can they find you? Any other things you're working on that you want to share?
I think people can find me from LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if they do want to reach out to me, I'm very much available there. And if they are looking for some kind of guidance or assistance, I'm very much available to help.
Amazing. And I'll make sure and put the link to your LinkedIn in the show notes so that everyone can find you really easily. And thank you so much again for joining. It was such a pleasure to have you on. And thank you so much to everyone for listening. Please like, share, subscribe. Let's help heal the world, spread all this good vibes everywhere. Be sure to check out my book, Change Your Mind with Chris Ashley, in paperback, audiobook, ebook, everywhere you get your books. And thank you so much. I'll see you all next time. Have a great day.
Thank you.